opening up every credit card. You know, those credit card companies come on campus at college and they're like, sign up for MasterCard, sign up for Visa, sign up for
I still don't think
Secrets.
I ever paid off my original JCPenney card from 1990. I really don't. It's somewhere out there.
Those pleated khakis are haunting you.
Now, I don't want to start so heavy and in a bad place, but Allie and I both thought the exact same thing, because before we started the Not For Air podcast for this week, welcome to the Scott and Allie Not For Air podcast.
Welcome.
You have been watching, now this is not a new series, but everybody sees series now at different times, and this is your first time getting through Band of Brothers.
Now, this series, I think, is from like 2002 or something like that.
It was one of the original series like this. Yeah, actually originally on HBO.
I don't even know how we got on it, except for, of course, like it's a Zach thing, you know, it's something historical. But we started watching it. At first, I was like, okay. And then the fighting scenes are super graphic.
Mm-hmm.
To the point the other day, we both turned our head. We were like, oh, I can't watch that. That, you know, and like bones are sticking out. But I was just telling Scott off the podcast, off the air, that I just got to, I think it's episode 9 or 10. I'm getting close to the end. Mm-hmm. And it's where they find the concentration camp. So the servicemen, they come to, you know, because it's during the Holocaust, they come to this camp. And at first, Zach said, do you know what that is? But the shot was far away. So it was a fence, and like all these people are lined up. And I was like, no, I don't know what that is. And he goes, that's them finding them in a concentration camp. And then
it's a very, very deep scene in that show.
Oh my gosh. Well, and then they get closer, and they're you can see the sadness and the remorse on their faces. And this one guy even at one point kind of hides away and cries because it's so tough to see. But these actors are so skinny.
Well, and that's the thing that Allie and I both said before we started the podcast. Literally minutes ago, we were like, you know, something I never thought about. Where did they find the actors for this? Because you have to realize they were trying to depict very much true life. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the human beings that were in the concentration camp, obviously very emaciated, tremendous malnutrition and undernourished. And in fact, one of the things, and I don't know if you picked up on this in the series, but then I have to come back to how did they find these actors? Mm-hmm. So they, the instinct was to, and I know this from historical, because World War II is an era that I'm fascinated with. And I know Zach's a history buff too. I think he goes to other areas more than I do.
He's more of a Civil War kind of guy, but I get it. Like I definitely love World War II. Like that sounds really
history
that
genres.
Sounds really weird. But even like we went to the Holocaust Museum when we were in DC.
Yeah,
it is something that interests me.
Well, the first instinct from like the soldiers in that was to start feeding and I'm going to say the victims of the concentration camp, and of course the people that had been in the camp wanted to eat. You know, there was no getting around it.
Yep.
They had to stop. And I remember this in one documentary I saw. I don't know that it was in Band of Brothers specifically.
It is.
Oh, is it? Do they say it?
Yeah, this just happened in the series last night that we watched.
Yeah, so they're like, you have to stop feeding them. Like, we have to get this under a controlled feeding type thing, or this will kill them. You will literally overindulge. You'll do it. But the question comes back to, what was so remarkable about that, and you're right, everything about that series was so well historically and reality-wise done. I mean, they used different locations. I can tell you this. That concentration camp was not the concentration camp they actually called that. What they called it was not, and where they filmed it was not the actual camp that they had found. But, you know, those are minor plot points to the actual story. It's the story that matters. But that being said, these actors, and there wasn't one or two of them. There was like 100, and they're pretty much like
hundreds.
Extras.
Yeah.
Where do you find folks that, or do they commit? Do they get a letter going, okay, this is what we're going to put you in, because I do remember.
Are they making enough to commit to that? I don't even know if I would commit to that.
I guess the joke for the actors could have been, I guess they weren't making enough to eat. But the, okay, Batman, the one.
Christian Bale.
Yes.
And he was in The Machinist.
He played that part where I remember he ate 1 can of tuna and an apple a day. That was his diet.
Yeah, but he was making a lot of money. And I'm not saying that money is everything. Like, do you think as one of these side actors, you're going to get your big break being an emaciated Holocaust victim?
No, I don't even know that that's why they did it. Maybe they did it because they had family that was involved. I mean, maybe they did it for a lot of different reasons. Also, people are very driven. If you want to be an actor or an actress, you know, a lot of people are very driven. You hear the stories how, oh, I waited tables at 5 restaurants, you know, until I got a break finally or whatever. This could have been the opportunity to just get on camera. So there could have been a million reasons why these people decided to do it. What gets me is where do you find that many people that literally were exactly what was in the concentration camps, or pretty close, maybe not exactly, but literally just skin and bones. I mean, and do you diet into that role? How do you do this? So, either way, it was a very powerful scene, but
especially men.
Yeah,
because men are bigger, usually bigger by nature. So to lose that much weight, and there was makeup, I could tell on their faces. You know how they're like real gaunt in the cheeks, and their eyes are really sunken in. Like, that's makeup. And maybe there's enough makeup to create some of like the bone features, but you still have to be super skinny.
Oh, yeah. There were scenes where, you know, people were walking around in like, you know, pants where you could see the legs.
Yes.
And you're like, I'm literally seeing your skeleton.
Yes.
Which I know that's what it was like in real life, or maybe worse. I mean, you know, but you see pictures and you've seen video of that era. So it was damn close. But again, you find, let's say, 200 actors.
Yep.
Or extras, or even if they doubled it, even if it was 50 and they found a way to do it. Where in the world do you put out a casting call for that body? It was amazing. They did it.
And
what I'm saying is, it's a compliment to the people that produced it to state the reality of the situation, but mind-blowing on how did they do it.
And it's before the computer generation that we have. You know how we can computer generate anything now?
Yeah.
Landscapes. You know, all of a sudden I'm at the Taj Mahal and I'm doing a movie even though I'm not at the Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
They can do all of that. I'm not saying that wasn't capable in 2002, I think, when this show came out, but I don't think it's where it is today. So that makes me believe, and now I need to go back and research this show, because now I have to know, how was that possible? And then the other thing that I was thinking too is, okay, maybe they had 100 and they were regenerated, like doing a computer regeneration of those same 100. But I was looking at the actors and I was like, these guys look very different from each other.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to even believe that there was a computer regeneration of these certain sector of 100 people. The other one last thing we'll talk about with the show, and then we can wrap it up here, but because I have a couple other things, but is, you know how in the show they have real war veterans?
I don't know that I knew that.
Okay, so in the show, usually it will be at the beginning or the end. There'll be like about 5 guys who will say small little things like, oh, we were at Battle of the Bulge, and I remember Sergeant Smith, let's say, did this or whatever. So they'll have little snippets. So Zach and I, because we're not done with it yet, he goes, I wonder if at the very last episode, they're going to say who these characters were on the show.
You know, I think they do. I'm not giving it away, but I want to.
That's what we're hoping for.
Or am I making this up in my head? This sounds so familiar. I've seen the whole series, but I haven't seen it in a long time. But I want to say at the end, I think that they do that where they have the real surviving actors at that point in time. You got to realize that and you do know that show is a spinoff of the Tom Hanks movie Saving Private Ryan.
I didn't know that, but Zach said that, you said that, and then you had mentioned the Pacific came afterwards. It's so funny. I feel like I have the same conversation with just 2 different people.
Yeah, well, you know.
Because he mentioned how the Pacific was another show that was a spinoff or came after this Band of Brothers.
Yeah, now the Pacific was good. But Band of Brothers was the real, just what a level. And now, again, here we are talking about a 20-some-year-old almost, series.
But I'm late to everything. I just watched Sopranos last year.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a lot of people. You get back to, you're going to find things, that you did not see at one point. Oh my gosh, we've seen this over and over again. The Office had a huge resurgence.
Oh yeah.
Well after it was off the air.
Rewatched that. Yeah, I rewatched that in the pandemic. That was good.
We've got, Friends has what it has going. Well, Friends had it going on. Then it kind of settled for a bit. Then Matthew Perry passed and it exploded again.
Yes.
So a lot of these shows people are just getting to, By the way, I'm going to come out and say it. Jeez.
What? Suits.
Suits is another one.
That's one I have on my list.
Now, a new one. I'm having a hard time and I'm a bit disappointed.
Which one?
I used to love Frasier, and I watched Cheers as a kid. I was old enough to understand the humor. I was in high school, so I got it, and that was my era of must-see TV on Thursday nights on NBC. So I remember Cheers from day one to the last day in the early 90s. And then Frasier came, and Frasier was great. I'm on episode 2 on Paramount Plus. I'm struggling.
I knew it. I was thinking I'm not going to watch it. And I watched it a little bit when I was younger, but I think a little too young for that humor at the time.
Oh yeah, you'd get it now. The show, if you went back and watched the Frasier that was on, 20 some years ago, you'd totally get it now. Oh, maybe more than that.
I think even rewatching Friends, I get the jokes differently.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Kelsey Grammer still looks freaking amazing. He's got, how old is he? I have to, excuse me.
I don't know.
I have to look this up.
Another one. So it was Suits. Secession is the other one that I know has been such a hot show. I have not gotten to, but I will. I eventually will. But I got too many other things going on.
Kelsey Grammer, 68 years old, and he
Wow.
really looks fantastic.
He's about my parents' age.
Yeah, he does. And he's, Kelsey struggled a lot with substance abuse. I don't know if you knew that or not. He was severely into alcohol. Severe.
No, I could see that. I could see him liking his whiskey. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, I believe he's been in recovery for many years. I'm not 100% certain, but he was big into that.
Now, transitioning into something else, what is the one thing that you think is the most important thing that you have to have in your car?
In my car?
To keep in your car.
I'll show you right now because I've been meaning to do it. Baby wipes.
Oh,
absolutely, baby wipes.
That is so funny. That's not the answer I was going to give, but I do have baby wipes in my car. And I always, did you know, I'm sure you know this, baby wipes can take out almost any stain.
Anything. I think I've told you this. Like, it will take it out. Now, the reason I carry them, neither one of my kids are in diapers anymore, and I'm almost back in them. That being said, it's I discovered this after Lydia, which is the last. I was waiting for the So We Hope.
So We Hope.
Oh, thank you. But Lydia, which was the last.
Well, that's going to lead to my next question. Thank you very much. But hang on.
We'll get there.
Yes.
I discovered it's great to have them because you know me, I'm one of these people, I don't like getting stuff on my hands and even that. And like, I will even order at a drive-through when I'm on a road trip, specific things. Like, I will not get a Whopper on a road trip because guaranteed the first thing to fall out of a Whopper is a mayonnaise covered piece of lettuce about yay big and it's going to fall. Then it's just
the shredded lettuce.
It becomes the crumbling effect.
Yep,
and now I'm covered and it's all running down my hands, the mayonnaise and the tomato juice. I mean, they're delicious. Don't get me wrong, but I will not order a Whopper. I will order a quarter pounder with cheese because it seems to hold together better. But with the baby wipes, I could eat ribs on a road trip and I'm happy about it.
Number one answer is an ice scraper, but I disagree. Because if you just get a CD case from 1995,
some of you still may have that in your car.
I do. Then I can easily scrape my windows. But one of the other things we've talked about is always having the candle in your car in case you ever get stranded on the side of the road. And this is why I think the ice scraper, it's not the most important thing to have in your car because it's such a temporary thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a few months out of the year, we hope.
No.
And frankly, I don't even have my brushes in the car yet.
Back to the... Oh, really? Oh, I keep mine in... Oh, I'll tell you.
You keep everything in your car.
Number one thing that I always have in my car is actually a camping chair. You never know when you need a party chair. I'm not even joking.
Not a bad point. And some baby wipes, you're ready for a good party.
That's right.
Somebody show up with some ribs and some wine.
And I'm done. I'm done. But that back to the other thing you said, the joke of, we hope this is your last kid. So now that everyone knows, and I think everyone knows that Scott is single now, And, you might get back in the dating game. Maybe you won't. Who knows? If you do.
I can promise you I'm not in a rush. Are we ringing the bell now as we go through the podcast?
Yeah,
All right.
that's the transition. Next topic.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, what's next? Your bell's better than my bell.
That was my high heel on the chair.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, because I'm like, oh, no.
What are you going to do differently this time?
Oh, do you have any idea how hard it was me just to hold in the most snarky comment that I would have ever made?
Oh, well, answer it honestly. What would you do differently?
I am okay.
What would you do differently?
No,
okay.
I would.
I just want to clarify that.
I can answer it with what I will notice now that I did not notice before.
Okay, is it answering my question?
It will.
Okay.
I will make 100% sure that the individual does not have some sort of previous situation specifically that could create large amounts of deceit and manipulation. And it can be very difficult to see that right away because we sort of all go in with rose-colored glasses and blinders, and
that is exactly why I have to stop you here.
Yeah.
Everyone dogs on me because I want to know your credit score on the first date. Well, let me tell you what, your girl ain't gonna get stuck in a situation of deceit and manipulation, and then all of a sudden I'm paying for your ass.
So let me ask you a question with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not ashamed to say this because I have had great success recovering from this. After my divorce, I've only been married once. Okay, I need everyone to know that. Everyone thinks that others have been my wives too. No, I have used this joke before. I have dodged that bullet more than once.
Yep.
But
more than twice.
Yes. When I did get divorced, I had to file for bankruptcy. A lot of people do. There was part of the reason that led to the divorce, quite honestly, was financial. And it was very difficult. Things were very different at a different point in my life.
That's super common.
Things changed. And it's unfortunate. I'm not saying it's the only reason because that's shallow. We just grew apart. Nothing more than that. There was no, I have nothing negative to say other than we grew apart and maybe realized we would have been better for many years as friends as opposed to the couple we were.
And you got together really early in your life,
very
right?
early. And at a time also, I had been through some trauma. I had just lost both my parents and in the early 90s. I was petrified to be alone. Now, am I saying that's the reason I was with that person? No, we obviously had a connection in a different way. I don't mean that in a negative. I'm not saying anything negative, and I want to be clear about that.
No,
but
I didn't think so.
Knowing the credit score. So I'm not ashamed to tell you that I had the bankruptcy. Now, the recovery from that, which did take some time and some lesson learning and some loan payoffs, and I'm in a very good place now with that. In fact, it is now technically off of my my record. So that being said, if you said, well, I want to know your credit score, and I told you, well, 11 years ago, I filed for a bankruptcy, but I've recovered very well. I have a $300,000 house and, I support myself and my children and, I'm doing well. Would that, and by the way, I do have a good credit score, which I'm not going to say on the podcast, but it is a good credit score. Would that be a red flag, or would you go, there's somebody that actually figured it out?
I think I could give you a figured it out because I also had previous debts and a bad credit score, and I had to recover too.
And I think a lot of people do.
And that was, young and dumb and just stupid. Opening up every credit card. Those credit card companies come on campus at college and they're like, sign up for MasterCard, sign up for Visa, sign up for
still don't think
Secrets.
I ever paid off my original JCPenney card from 1990. I really don't. It's somewhere out there.
Those pleated khakis are haunting you.
By the way, for those watching on YouTube, do I have a crooked nose? Does it point to the left or the right?
It sure does. I never noticed this until you just said this.
Why is it? Okay, I'm going to turn to you now off camera. Is this a camera thing? Is my nose crooked?
No, you absolutely have a crooked nose. I've never noticed this. You have a crooked nose.
So did I get punched one time?
It absolutely leans like that. Yeah.
What the hell? I don't remember ever getting hit so hard that now I'm going to have to go and...
Well, your no face is symmetrical.
Do I have a symmetrical or a good, shaped face beyond the nose that's crooked? I mean, does it make me look kind of rugged? Do I have like a action star kind of appeal to me?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Fuck off.
Starring in the next Bourne series.
Oh yeah, that's me. Yeah,
Scott
born to run away screaming. But honest to God, does it take away something? I mean, I don't understand when this happened.
Actually, I think, and I mean, I'm not attracted to it in any way, shape, or form. But
the crooked nose, is that what did it?
I love deformities. I love.
Oh my God, that did not help. A deformity. I have a deformity. I'm thinking this is a hit.
I know. Well, I had an ex who had a huge gap in his teeth. Loved it. I love things like that.
I don't ever remember breaking my nose. Doesn't it look crooked though? That is the weirdest thing.
It doesn't just look crooked. It is crooked. Your nose is
really
crooked.
Okay.
No, it's not bad. I'm just telling you the truth. It is angled.
Okay.
It is.
I don't
literally
understand when or how that happened.
45 degree.
A 45. I don't understand when it happened. I don't. Maybe I was hit at some point.
Maybe.
I've had some crazy exes.
No, maybe it is. Do you know how the old comedian Carol Burnett, how she would pull on her ear?
Oh yeah, that was actually a way that she would give a signal to audience or friends that she was thinking about them.
Right, but it ended up expanding her lobes. And then you see this on National Geographic anyway. Like if you put those plates around your neck or you put those like gauges in your ear, if you do a certain function over and over and over again, it's going to stretch your lobe or your neck or whatever. So maybe you always sleep on your face to the one side, and so now your nose is crooked.
All right, we have the ability on this screen to put it to one frame and zoom in. I want you to bring this in because I want to see if this is going to take away from my potential Hollywood future here.
You want me to put you on?
Put me solo and bring me in. That's you, Solo.
Oh wait, whoops, sorry.
Hi, your nose is not crooked.
Oh crap.
Yeah, all right, there we go.
Wait.
I've been added back to this. Now that's you again.
Why is it? Oh, you have to do it.
Oh, I have to do it? All right, well, put me back. But okay. Oh, see, there I am. Now, okay, if I were going to be in a movie poster, and let's say it's, I have to have the pose.
Is this what you want to do with your life, is to be in a movie poster? That's a cool bucket list thing.
I'd like to be in the movie and be on a poster. Is that it? Does it look bad? We've zoomed in on YouTube.
No, because you are at an angle. Now, if you go straight ahead, I can see you have the crooked nose.
All right. I don't know. You can pull it back out. I don't need to see that much of myself. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Sorry, got distracted on that.
No. Okay, back to what would you do differently? Oh, you already said. You gave the answer.
Oh, yeah, I would. I would look for that because, it's, I'm still not ready to share the whole story. But what I have gone through is the direct effect of something that creates a lot of manipulation and a lot of deceit. And it
goes back to what I've always said. You have relationship PTSD.
Yeah.
Not you. This is a general statement.
Right now I do. In fact, I'm going to tell you something. Every podcast, something the therapist said.
Oh, sweet.
She said,
pay
Scott,
her double.
You need to be honest with whoever might come along and say, and especially if it's sooner than later, it will improve over time. But in the beginning, let's say it's somewhat sooner, not real later, because time does heal things. But if it's somewhat sooner, you need to be honest and do something that might be out of character for you. And it's not being honest. I have no problem being honest, but I don't like to hurt people's feelings, or I don't like to let people down. That's very much a me thing. And that's true. Mm-hmm. It's always like, I can't say no, but need to be honest and say, I think this is all I can give right now. I don't know that I have more that I can give right now. And that's scary to me because my first thought is, the person's going to turn around and walk away and go, they can't give anymore. So what good is this to go any further? And I'm not saying that I can't get to more. It's the words that you have to hear. I can't give any more than what I can give right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That is being in an adult relationship, being in where people can live independently. Now, every relationship is different. I know some people love to be around each other all the time and they want to be constantly texting and calling and up each other's butts and whatever. You have 2 young kids. You got other things going on right now.
I have one full-time job, which is 2 kids. The second full-time job is the show and everything we do around it. I don't have time for a third full-time job. Now, I'm not saying I won't put in a degree of effort, but at the same time too, I don't know how much emotionally. And I think if more people were honest about that, I'm not saying, well, I'm not really that into you. I'm saying, I don't know how much more I can give. So it's kind of up to you. What are you willing to want to say, I'm okay with that? And can you see down the road and say, but I see a potential for something better, but it's going to take time. That's a unique setup. And not everybody can stay for it, and I can't fault anybody for that.
Because it's not fair if I think I'm going to get more, right?
Well,
and I'm not.
But I'm trying to eliminate that whole thought process.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And also, I do want to be honest, but I think the people who, not always, but I think there are people who are looking for a lot, emotionally investing when they are in their 20s, when they have maybe not a lot of other things going on. Think about your other relationships. When you didn't have other things going on, of course you were giving so much, right?
Sure.
Your first marriage, your only marriage, but your first marriage, you guys were younger. I'm sure you guys were constantly emotionally giving.
Well, and we did a ton of stuff. We would do, at that time, living in Cleveland for most of that, we were very active in like the nightclub circuit because the radio station would do a promotion and we'd have to go and we'd be there and obviously she'd have friends that would be there. We don't, it was a combined thing.
Yeah.
It's
now what you're saying are things that you do. I'm saying the emotional part. And I'm saying that I know that my significant other and we had this conversation at the very beginning. Hey, listen, I work a lot. I'm not going to call you during work. I'm not going to be up your butt. I'm going to be gone a lot on the weekends. I just want you to know what you're getting into. And he's like, okay, I'm cool with that. And then so that's doing stuff, but that's also like, hey, I'm not going to be communicating with you.
Right.
And you need to know that. I will communicate, absolutely. But, and I think that's a very adult way to go about it.
Blatant honesty without being rude. That's where it's got to go. And
being honest is never being rude.
No, but I used to be very worried about I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want, and if I really like the person, but I don't know, I might, I'm just.
Hold on a second.
It's going to be raw.
I gotta pull something up. So one of my girlfriends, actually an old coworker of ours, had posted something similar to this. And it was something about like, I'm at the point of people pleasing and setting boundaries. And sometimes I'm not sure if I'm hurting. It was something along like, I'm not sure if I am hurting people's feelings or not. And that's what it is. Like, I think it's okay that you set these healthy boundaries.
Yeah. I don't, I'm busy. I got stuff going on. Not saying that I don't have a desire to be around you or whoever or whatever, but right now I'm busy.
Right. And that's all you got to say. And if they're an adult and emotionally an adult, I'm saying, I'm not meaning by age. If they are in a good, mature space, then they will go, okay, and I'm going to be here when you need me. Something
else too that I'm going to look for very carefully when it does eventually, assuming it does. Like I'm not, right now, I told you, I got enough on my plate. I'm plenty happy doing what I'm doing. Something else I'm going to look for. Everybody has stories of their past, and they're going to be shared to a degree. It is how many stories are consistent from the past that may carry something that could be a red flag. I think I, again, had blinders on. If someone has a story and one ex left because of that, and then there was another ex that had something similar happen, and then they left because of that, and then another ex had, if there is a consistency of these things happening, it tells me either they saw you, meaning the person that, the other person, they saw the truth in you, or you were attracted to people that kept doing the same things to you, or caused you a similar amount of trauma. And, now every amount of trauma is different. There is situational trauma. There is trauma that, you just keep falling into. You know, if you keep going for scumbag after scumbag after scumbag, you're creating your own trauma. You just are. That's just, those are your bad choices. And eventually they're going to catch up with you. And that's the trauma you're going to deal with. But if you're in a situation where someone has something that they're struggling with and they're failing, that's a different trauma because that can affect you. And I'm not going to lie, that is very similar to what happened in my story. But again, I'm not getting into it. Does this make sense to you?
Not entirely, but
where
it
are
kind
you
of
lost?
does.
And I'll help you.
I get like, so I get that I've dated people and they tell me stories that are super red flags.
Sure.
And I was not paying attention to them. And you're right. It was like, oh, well, I was with this person. We broke up because of this. And this person, we broke up because of this. And you're right. That part I get. It's the last part that I was like, I'm not sure exactly what you're saying.
Which part? The trauma part?
Well, I get that people have traumas. It's hard to say without like, I need to know their trauma and if I'm willing to stay for it.
Well, here's an
example. Some of it I'm not.
I'm simplifying it. Take the girl that does nothing but dates the human cigarettes over and over again. Jobless, wearing, the gravy stained wife pleaser t-shirts, rarely has a job, probably 7 kids. She has 7 kids, it's just this whole thing. It's over and over and over and over again. You keep getting attracted to the bad boys, the bad crowd or whatever. And what's happening is that trauma is going to eventually catch up with you in the sense of, you're eventually going to get to the point that it's been like, this has been everything I've chosen. It's caused you your own damage because, you sit there and you go, I don't really want that anymore, but you keep going to it.
Oh, yeah, I get that. I think I've had that same pattern of I always dated people that were too dependent on me.
Now, the other side of trauma is situational trauma. And I may be making up my own psychological wordings for this right now, but there is situational trauma that can specifically happen. If a person's an addict, and the other person around them is dealing with that and may not know how to deal with it, or may deal with it wrong, or whatever, that is a situational trauma. It is not necessarily you consistently dating the poor choices you've dated that are going to catch up with you. It is a situation specific,
an isolated event.
Well. If they're addicted, it's not isolated.
No, but you choosing that person, it might be an isolated event.
And so there's a couple different kinds of it. But I think...
Because I think there's also a lot of hiding there, too.
Oh, well, there's your manipulation and deceit.
Yeah.
So, but again, I want to, leave something for down the road because there will be a story. But where we're at right now is, for me, those are the signs I'm going to make sure that I don't fall into. And I'm not going to have blinders on with it. And I'm going to be very frank and honest with somebody and just say, look, it's not that I don't have an interest, but this is what I have right now. And if it's not good enough, I'm sorry.
This is so good.
I'm sorry. It's just, it is what it is. I can't apologize for it.
Right. And this is so good because I said to Scott off the air today, I was like, you just have always moved really quickly in relationships. For one reason or another. Like, I understand you had referenced one already in this podcast. Your parents had passed, and I can see why that would, like, you'd be clinging on to love somewhere, things like that. So I think this is when the original question was, what would you do differently? Mm-hmm. I think you have realized that doing differently, it might be even like moving slower. And I think I think that's really important.
And I'm not 100% sure I can answer what would I do differently because
because you don't think you did anything wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's the old Scott.
Right.
Trust me, I've done a lot wrong. But the difference is having, and I promote this for people. I go to therapy because I want understanding and I want someone that has had a long time of professional experience to kind of help guide or make me think differently.
Mm-hmm. Retrain the brain.
Not to tell me I'm crazy, not to do this or not to do that, because a person's a person. You're going to have your passions and stuff like that, but it's the type of, or you're going to be a passionate person. It's the type of thing that either I want to understand, but also I use it a lot to understand what the other person is, because again, a lot of times I used to have blinders on, and I want to know, like if I say, pretend, because we've done this a million times, pretend Allie and I are together. We've done this. And Allie says this to me. And I take that to my therapist and say, what do you think that means? And, over time, the more I tell them about if we were dating you,
Allie,
they have a bit of a better
They'll say,
understanding.
She's perfect. Oh my God.
That's it. They said, bow to her every grace and need, and never, ever one time not give her the code to something so she can't have control.
That's right.
That's why you listen to the show, people. It all tied together right there.
It did. I still don't have the heat code.
That's right. Rip it off the wall, sister. Rip it off. That thermostat's coming off.
I swear to God, I'm going to be like the Hulk when I get home today. Yeah, because what's the high? 42?
Oh God, yeah. Today. By the way, are you going to ask the question which the therapist that you're going to help me pay for this session literally said? Do you want me to reread it again?
Yeah, go ahead.
It was. Hang on, I got to go back to it here.
This is in reference to something we talked about on the show, also in my social media too. Zach has set up a code to lock me out of changing the temperature on our thermostat.
Oh, it's been a battle. If you do anything, go to the Scott and Allie on demand on your platforms, and you can go back and listen to this. It's been hilarious. Okay, so
why does he have control?
It was.
Or why do you get control?
Why the security with the thermostat should be a joint decision on temperature, just like with finances. There is no resentment, bitterness. Why does he have a need for control?
It's so funny because
why does he have a need for control?
I think because living with me, he's lost a lot of it. No, I was kidding. But that's so funny though. I do have to say that though too. There's some things in our living together, because we've lived together for a very short period of time, that there has been some things that I'm not winning certain fights, and I have to go, okay, I'm not going to win everything. One of my girlfriends came over and I was showing her some things that I wasn't winning, and one of them was he hung all these hats on.
I gotta come back to the winning thing when you're done.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So he hung all these hats in the mudroom. Of course, I want the mudroom to look super cute. And he's
it's
like,
a mudroom.
That's what he said.
I mean, it can look put together, but does it have to have doilies and flowery wallpaper?
No, I wanted it to have this like cute little wardrobe. We'll put our shoes inside. I don't want to see your shoes. I don't want to see your hats.
Oh my God.
And all of a sudden he took this initiative and like hung these hats, like screwed these hooks in the wall. And I was like, this is not a friggin' college dorm room. So I think that he does these certain little things because I like things to be a certain way. Like I like to have control.
He does them to torture you.
No, I think it's to torture me, but I also think he feels sometimes he is losing a little bit of control. But at the same time, he gives it, because when we were going to the painting process, thank you to Stevens Paint and Blind. So when we were going through the painting.
Give it up to Chris Burnell too, the painter. He's your painter. He's my painter. I love him to death.
So when we were going through the painting process, and I brought home the mint green paint.
Love it.
Even though we had already talked about painting the kitchen gray, he said, and I quote,
you know my kitchen's got a green to it.
And he goes, I knew as soon as you brought that mint green home that's what we were doing. I was like, yeah.
You did. I'm gonna say you won, but
I win.
But I have to tell you two things. One, to finish off the thermostat conversation, if he doesn't give you access, remember the other thing that our therapist said. Yes. Go to bed in a parka. That'll take care of that.
Oh now, yeah.
And you have some. Oh my God! Go to bed in the sleeping bag coat. Hold on. Well, while she's off camera, I'll get the two pens I dropped because I like to fidget. Yeah, there it is. But that's not the sleeping bag coat.
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yeah.
This thing here, you know what? I'll turn the camera. Come here. Wait till you see how big this is. Look at this. Go to bed in that. It is floor to ceiling. You got to look at this thing. If you go to bed in that, he's going to give up trying on anything with you. I'm telling you right now.
This thing is the best ever.
Oh my gosh, that is great. The other thing is can I give you one suggestion when it comes to fighting?
Oh, sure, but I mean, I fought with you, and I don't know if this is going to be anything I'm going to take.
It's not about winning, because nobody ever wins for long. In fact, the wheel just keeps on turning.
Yes.
If you can go into it without, and so many of us do, we want to win. We want the point taken. We want them to hear and understand us. And so whenever in a fight you've had with a significant other, has that person stopped and gone, I can't be mad anymore because that was so balls on dead right that I am going to bow 100% to what you just said. Nobody could ever say it.
Oh
Nobody.
my gosh. It's funny because when we fight and Zach's like ready for this fight to be over, he makes me laugh. And that's his way of, that's his like olive branch.
I do it too. And you know it.
And,
you know when you and I get going, which is rare.
Right.
And you know that we end up, after you cry for about 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And, you're mad at something.
Because that's what I do when I get mad. I cry.
And then, but then I have you laughing. And I think you probably hate me for it. But at the same time, I like to think that you love me for it.
Both, yes.
Yeah.
Because even Zach will go, he'll mock whatever I was doing.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Oh, I know. But then it ends up being very funny.
Well,
I say that now, but we've only lived together for 2 months. So let's get back to that in 6 months from now.
On that note, I think next week we'll get an update.
Bye, guys.